Good afternoon, everybody. I am Ben Nuvamsa, a member of the Bear Clan of the Hopi tribe and former chairman of the Hopi tribe. I'm here to talk about the federal government's mandate, the obligation to consult with the tribal nations. You know, tribal nations, and there are many of us, are sovereign nations. The federal government recognizes our tribal nations as sovereign nations. And because of that, we have a formal government-to-government relationship with the United States. And as such, we are entitled to full and meaningful face-to-face consultation with the federal government. And we were here in 2015, and we met with the Fish and Wildlife Service at that time to oppose their plan to delist the grizzly from the T&E species list. We made our concerns known, and we made certain that the federal government upholds its responsibility to fully consult with tribal nations, and they promised they would. Instead, what we saw were webinars. That is not meaningful consultation. That's only one-way communication. We wanted to be at the table to talk about our concerns. On June 22nd, 2017, Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke went and testified before the House Natural Resources Committee. And he promised them that he would conduct full and meaningful consultation with the tribes. And he was asked if the federal government had a duty to consult. And he acknowledged that the federal government indeed had the duty to consult with tribes before making a real important decision that affects the lives of our tribal nations, our culture, our religious ceremonies. When he made that when he testified before the committee later that afternoon, they announced the delisting. So we don't believe that he was forthright in talking and committing to the House Natural Resources Committee, nor did the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service were forthright with us and committing to consulting with us. Then on June 29th, the Fish and Wildlife Service filed their final rule to delist the grizzly without consulting with our tribes, as promised, which then resulted in a letter from the chairman back there from the Crow Nation about that violation. There are 2 presidential executive orders on a mandate by the federal agencies to consult with the tribes. Neither of them were followed by the Fish and Wildlife Service. The first executive order was issued by President Bill Clinton. The second was issued and reiterated by President Obama. Neither of them were carried out. So, why is consultation important to us? We are sovereign nations. We have a right, an entitlement to the decision-making process of the federal government. We want that right. Delisting of the grizzly bear potentially affects our way of life, our culture, our traditions. And that is why we are concerned, and that's why we are here today. The grizzly, to us, to Hopi, is a medicine man. When you have issues or health issues, you go to the grizzly to get that medicine so we can get well, you can heal. To me, as a member of the Bear Clan, that grizzly is my uncle. He's part of me. The delisting of the grizzly affects me personally. It affects every single tribe here in the United States and Canada. We have shrines that are named after the grizzly. We have people, our names are after the grizzly. We have dances, we have ceremonies that honor and respect the grizzly. And that is what is the potential harm to our religious freedom. We did the same thing on another front on the Bears Ears National Monument without consulting with the coalition tribes. So we find that to be not to be acceptable, and that is why we're here. Thank you.